What's going on, guys? This is Chris Costa from Team Bemani Lounge, Team Lionheart, bringing you a Thunder Dragon Link combo tutorial. If this video gets at least 10 likes, I'll post another video with multiple deck profiles going over different ways you can build the deck, different ways you can map your deck, or build your deck to map your combos, as well as different ways you can build your deck to adjust to your local metagame, or I guess your online remote dual local metagame during these pandemic times. But yeah, I think that this deck is very well positioned based on the way people are adapting to choke points of the Dragon Link combo and the way that people hand trap nowadays. I think it plays very well through the current hand traps that are main decked, and I think that it abuses the Chaos Ruler the most out of any other Dragon Link version. There's a very streamlined version of the combo I've mapped out with Batteryman Solar and White Dragon Wyver Burster. The combo can alternatively be done with Batteryman Solar, Chaos Valkyria, and any Dragon Extender like Quick Launch. We are playing Rockets in this deck, of course. It is a Dragon Link deck in 2021. And yeah, the deck is very strong, has very cool interactions with chain blocking, so your important stuff can't be ashed, and plays through hand traps like a monster. Yeah, let's get into it. So we'll normal summon Batteryman Solar and use its effect to send a Thunder monster from our deck to our graveyard. We'll send Thunder Dragon Roar. The classic will banish Thunder Dragon Roar and summon White Dragon Wyver Burster. We'll use Thunder Dragon Roar's effect to summon Thunder Dragon Dark from our deck. Batteryman Solar's effect will trigger. We will get when a Thunder monster is summoned to our field, we get a token. Now this is going to be very reminiscent of the old Danger Thunder Dragon Link combo from a couple years ago that was doing very well at a lot of events, and it's very much based off that type of combo. And it maps out very similar and goes into very similar things, but we have some new tools in 2021. So we'll link 4, just like back then, into Saryuja Skuldred. Not Appaloosa. You cannot make an Appaloosa with a token. And although you might say, oh, this is the 5th summon, we want to play around Nibiru, we need to make Appaloosa. Well, this will play around Nibiru, because at this point, right, you have 3 other cards in hand, besides the Batteryman Solar and the White Dragon Wyver Burster. And not only do you get the Skuldred draw, you can chain block the Skuldred draw. You do Skuldred effect Chainlink 1, White Dragon Wyver Burster effect Chainlink 2, and Thunder Dragon Dark effect Chainlink 3. You layer it like this intentionally, such that the Wyver Burster and the Skuldred cannot be ashed, and the Wyver Burster won't be able to be like Skullmeistered or anything like that. The Thunder Dragon Dark is the least important effect to go off here. It's still very nice, but you don't need it. Realistically, all this combo needs is the Skuldred, at least the arrows, and a level 4 or lower monster to turn into an LP. So yeah, we'll search out a Thunder Dragon Hawk with the dark and the black dragon with the white. Now the Skuldred goes off. We're going to draw 4 cards and put 3 back. So now at this point, we have 4 other cards in hand besides these 2, and these are basically 4 cards of choice. You kind of mold your hand, put your bricks back, and get extenders. And now, your hand should be resilient enough to play through most things. If you get Nibiru'd on your guard dragons, it's no big deal. You'll typically still be able to make something along the lines of like a Spheres and Appaloosa, or an Appaloosa and a Savage, or all 3. Maybe you can find your way to some other stuff. We'll get into what other kind of stuff you can make during your combo. So now we'll banish the White Dragon Wyver Burster from our graveyard and summon the Black Dragon. The reason you banish the White Dragon is so if during the combo for the Chaos Ruler, when you mill 5, if you mill a Chaos space, you can put the White Dragon back on our deck and draw a card. We'll link 1 into Guard Dragon LP. And now we'll use Guard Dragon LP's effect, and we'll summon from deck. This is a very important part of the combo, because if you already have access to Rocket Tracer, whether you drew it off of the Skuldred, whether you had a Chaos Ruler before making the Skuldred, if you got hand trapped earlier in the combo, maybe they hit the Solar and you had a quick launch into a Tracer and make a Chaos Ruler to keep going, something like that. if it's engraved, if it's in hand, whatever, if you have a quick launch, if you draw Dragon's Ravine, because you can use Dragon's Ravine to send Absol Dragon to get the Tracer, if you already have access to the Tracer, here you want to summon Omni Dragon Brotar instead. And the reason you would summon Omni Dragon Brotar is because you could target itself, discard a card, search for Cast Dragon Legionnaire, and now you have an extra level 8 Dragon Extender on top of your combo that will rip a card out of your opponent's hand and you can use to overlay. This deck will be playing rank 8s a lot of the time, whether Zombie Stein, Sanafon the Sky Prison, or Hope Harbinger, depending on the format, depending on your deck build. Also, if you open Dragoonity Divine Lance, which is a part of the combo later on, which we'll get into, you can then also summon the Brotar here, because off of the, if you have the Divine Lance, then you can get Dragon's Ravine off of the Romulus, and you still have your whole combo, but you have an extra Legionnaire on top of that. So now, we'll just do, again, very bare bones combo, and we'll say that this is a Tracer here. So we'll link off the Tracer, very bare bones combo, into Guard Dragon Pisty. Guard Dragon's Pisty effect will summon back the Tracer. Now, we will link 2 into the Romulus we had just mentioned. Romulus will search our deck for Divine Lance. Again, if you open Divine Lance, you can get Dragon's Ravine, send Absol, get a Tracer. You can send Seifer if you had to Chaos Ruler earlier, and then add back the Legionnaire. There's a lot of cool interactions with this card, but very bare bones, we're going to get Divine Lance. Divine Lance will attach a Dragoonity monster from our deck to Romulus. We'll attach Phalanx. Phalanx will use its effect when it's attached to a Dragoonity monster, we can summon it. Now we'll use the Thunder Dragon Hawk's effect, when we searched before, to summon back the Thunder Dragon Roar. We will link 1 into Striker Dragon. Striker Dragon effect will search for Boot Sector Launch. We want to do this now, maybe even a step or so earlier, but we want to do this before we do the next step, because we want to make sure the Boot Sector Launch gets to our hand. We'll now Synchro for 8, because Phalanx is a 2, and this is a 6. Synchro for 8, into the Chaos Ruler. So the Chaos Ruler will mill 5. Doesn't matter what we mill here, can be really anything. Add whatever, just another extender to our hand. Now, realistically, you want to try to find your way to a monster in hand, so you can have an extra monster to summon here off of the Skuldred before you link it away. Let's say we just have a Batteryman Solar. Let's say our draws were terrible, very bare bones, the very minimum, we just have to summon another one of this guy, just whatever. We will link 2, now that we use the Skuldred effect, into Hieratic Seal Heavenly Spheres. Now, we will use Striker Dragon's effect, pop itself, add back the Rocket Tracer to our hand. We will summon back the Chaos Ruler, banishing a Dark and a Life from our grave. You should do like a Guard Dragon and the Hawk, doesn't really matter what you do here. It might matter in tournament, depending on specific interactions against specific decks you're against. Maybe depending what you need to engrave for your next turn based on the extenders in hand. But that's more of an in-the-moment thing. This is a very type of, build a combo type of deck. You got to figure it out as you go. But again, very bare bones combo you want to try to find your way to. Right here, you link 4. This will wind up being banished because it's summoned off its own effect. Into a 3 material Appaloosa. So this is an Appaloosa that has 3 negates, 2400 attack. So we'll put just a little thing to mark that right here. It's a 3 negate Appaloosa. Now we will use Boot Sector Launch, and Boot Sector Launch will summon the Tracer from hand. We use the Tracer's effect to pop the Boot Sector Launch to summon a rocket out of deck. Rocket of choice will be Recharger. Oh. And then we will Synchro and summon Borreload Savage Dragon. You want to be careful, you don't want to summon it under their extra monster zone. Depending on the matchup, you want to decide which one it's for. If you're against Mech Knights, you don't want to stack these two in the same column because of column mechanics. If you're against a deck that can summon level 1s, you don't want to summon it here because of Relinquished, under their extra monster zone because of Relinquished Anima. I'm pretty sure there's a deck that you don't want to summon it to this arrow. I'm not entirely sure, but normally people recommend the far end going blind. So we'll use Savage's effect, attach Skull Dread from our discard pile to it. Now this is a 4-negate Borreload Savage Dragon. It's 4 Borreload counters and has 4,400 attacks. It steals half of the Skull Dread's attack. And that's the very bare bones end board. This is just 2 cards with the worst possible draws off the Skull Dread and hitting absolutely nothing off of the Chaos Ruler mills. Realistically, you have 4 cards in your hand that you haven't used. These are 4 extenders. So, these could be an extra material to make this a 4-negate Appaloosa that you could have summoned. Maybe you drew a Chaos Valkyria, maybe you got an extra quick launch. Maybe at some point in the combo, let's say you have an extra extender and a tuner. Maybe you have a Chaos Valkyria and something along the lines of a quick launch. You can link those two into Halka Fibrax instead of making the Appaloosa so early, right? When you summon back the Chaos Ruler, you can use the Halka Fibrax to summon a... So realistically here, there'd be a Romulus on board. So when you're at this point of the combo, and you have the extra monster on board, right? You can use the Halka Fibrax effect to summon a Rocket Synchron out of your deck. Now, the reason you would do this is because now, instead of linking these into Appaloosa, you can Synchro into a Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. Now, this is another negate. It can negate any face-up card on the field. And now, you'd be able to use the Halka Fibrax and the Romulus for a 2-material Appaloosa, which, although is less negates and more outable, you now have an extra Omni negate on top of that, which is very impressive. And here, you'd still be able to Boot Sector Launch, summon a Savage, summon the Tracer, summon Savage. You have an extra material here. Maybe you could have used this with the Halka Fibrax to make still a 3-negate Appaloosa. If you play IP Masquerena, you have another extender, you can do that. Again, you have 4 extra cards in your hand. You can save resources so it can help you kill the opponent during the next turn when they inevitably cannot play through your board. You make an access code or a Boral Sword Dragon to kill them with your extra materials. And also, let's say you don't get access to Halka Fibrax, but you do get a Legionnaire at some point in your combo because you summoned the Brotar, which would have searched it. If you summon the Legionnaire, we can even say Chaos Creator. If you draw the Chaos Creator off the combo like we did, like how we got it off of the Ruler, you can summon the Chaos Creator. This summons a card from your Banished, which is extra extender, and puts stuff back. And then you can overlay these into something along the lines of a Zombie Stein. You could summon a Hope Harbinger. So Zombie Stein's great because it's another negate. You can summon a Hope Harbinger, which is a spell or trap negate, which isn't as much of a blanket negate as a Zombie Stein, but what's nice about it is that if you decide to play something along the lines of a Morphage Goliath or Sloth in your deck, during your opponent's turn, when you bounce a card with the Heretic Seal, you can summon it you could summon the Amorphage Goliath, right, out of your deck in defense position. It has 0 attack and 0 defense, so it's very destructible by battle. But while it's on the field, your opponent can't summon from the extra deck. And if you have a Hope Harbinger here instead of a Zombie Stein, the Hope Harbinger can redirect attacks. So now your opponent is going to have to deal with probably like a Savage with a negate, an Appaloosa with a couple negates. You already bounced a card with the Heavenly Spheres, and now you have something protecting Buster Lock, basically. So a very nearly unbreakable board. They'll probably have to drop with the board. There's not a lot of Dark Rulers in the format anymore. If there are, they're in the side deck. So likely they'll have to drop with the board, and then they still have to play through the 1 or 2 negates there. They discarded a bunch of cards off drop, but it's very, very difficult to break this board. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Again, if this video gets at least 10 likes, I will post a video with multiple deck profiles going over how to refine your deck for your local metagame, and how different tips and tricks that can be used in this deck. But this is just a very bare bones combo tutorial for this method of playing Dragon Link, which I think is a really fun way and a really crazy way to play Chaos, and I think might be the best way to play Chaos right now, and possibly the most explosive yet still very consistent version of Dragon Link available. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Subscribe to the channel, and if you are interested, Bemani Lounge hosts weekly to bi-weekly EDO Pro tournaments in our Discord server, so check the description to join our Discord server below. It's also on our YouTube banner. And if you join our tournaments, you can get a chance to, we have good entry fees, great prizing, and we also have a pro program that gives you discounted entry to our tournaments, as well as a lot of coaching opportunities and opportunities to get onto our pro team. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Also, feel free to follow me on Twitch. I stream multiple times a week. I stream Yu-Gi-Oh!, Legends of Runeterra, and Pokemon TCG. It's twitch.tv/angelstreams, ANG3L, like Angel, but the E's a 3. Thank you very much for watching, and more to come, so subscribe.